Now, Ferguson, Missouri. Let's talk about this. I can't get into this stuff about policing and so forth. Obviously, police are too aggressive. Police are too heavily armed. Police should back off. I certainly think that cop who's accused of this should by now have been arrested. The prosecutor should have been ousted because of his obvious prejudices, right? The fact that he's from a 1,000% police family. But this gets us not very far. What I'm astounded by is people who spend hours talking about this without proposing solutions. What are the solutions? Well, you're dealing with unemployment, despair, and social anomie. And what do you do about that? Well, the general framework, of course, is my program, 30 million new productive jobs paid for by a credit stimulus window, the Main Street window, the infrastructure window at the Federal Reserve, acting as a national bank, nationalized in whole or in part, seized from the hands of the private bankers and Wall Street predators by the United States government. However, one of the problems here is that some of the people involved who need these jobs most are going to have a very hard time getting hired in any kind of contractor setting, right? Private sector as government contractor. So therefore, we've got to go back to a wise measure, too modest, certainly, but I'm talking about H.R. 1000, the Humphrey Hawkins Full Employment and Training Act, sponsored by Representative John Conyers of the Detroit area. And the general framework is this, however, a couple of changes. The first, of course, is taxing Wall Street speculation has to be 1% of all turnover. The federal government can take that money, they can split it with the states. That's also part of the package, but a 1% robust Wall Street sales tax. And what do you do with that? Well, then you've got to create, I would say for next summer, you've got to create something like 5 million jobs for high school kids, for teenagers, for youth unemployed, say up to the age of 22 or 25. You got to learn the skills. You got to learn how to work. You got to learn how to punch the time clock, show up on time, all this other stuff, the culture of work. Get people off the streets, right? You can also have a civilian conservation corps, sure, for people whose tastes go in that direction, fine. CCC, several 100,000 more can be busied in that way. And of course, these are productive projects, right? They lead to infrastructure improvement, right? You can do all kinds of useful work that will increase the overall productivity of labor in the United States. What I'm thinking of is Marion Barry, God bless him, the former mayor of the District of Columbia. The thing that got him in hot water was every summer, the District of Columbia government under Marion Barry would say, we guarantee a job to every teenager who needs it. There were no riots during those years. Every company would get a quota. They'd be told, look, here's what you've got to come up with. You want to call it a shakedown, you can call it whatever you want. But it meant social peace, and it was a tremendous benefit for all kinds of people who needed the work. And not all of them were black. And that, I think, you can see why there was a task force, a Get Barry task force created to entrap him, right? And obviously he fell into it with the crack cocaine in the hotel room. But that was not the reason. The reason was that he wanted to provide jobs, and the private sector was told to cough up. A real president right now, I would say, would make a speech somehow saying, private sector, you better look to Christmas vacation, and you better look to spring break next year, because we want to see several million high school students and college students hired during those breaks. And then next summer, we want 5 million jobs for teenagers so we can attack the youth unemployment. And, of course, the overall picture is the initial 30 million new productive jobs at union wages paid for by the Federal Reserve.